now, live, the Domestic Estate Manager Studios in Grosse Pointe, Michigan. It's the nation's #1 podcast series in the private service industry. It's time for DEMA Live. Now, here are your hosts, Matt and Mike.
Hello and welcome back to DEMA Live. My name is Matthew Hack and I will be the host for today's show. Today I am sitting down with Dave Drap, who is the Senior Vice President of Fiscal Concierge. Dave, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. No problem. Today we're going to be talking about some time savings that Dave's company will be able to provide through his bill and payroll management system. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Great. Well, before we get started, Dave, if you could introduce yourself and let us know how you got started in the industry.
Well, hi again, everybody. My name is Dave Drap. I'm the Vice President of Sales for the Fiscal Concierge. I've been in business development for about 18 years, and more specifically in this industry, in this space, I've been in this space for about 5 years.
That's great. Outstanding. Well, the first question I have for you, Dave, is if you could explain a little bit about what you guys do at Fiscal Concierge.
Sure. We offer two sides to our business. On one side of the equation, we offer bill paying services for the senior market specifically, also the active lifestyle market. For one flat monthly fee, the Fiscal Concierge can handle all of the bill paying needs that are needed by the senior. The other side of our business, we offer also payroll services through our RUN program. So we can actually become the accounts payable arm for a small company. We can do all of the payroll, and we can do up to 30 reoccurring bills on behalf of the small business.
Okay, great. Well, as you guys know, with Dave being a DEMA member, I'm sure, Dave, you absolutely understand the ability that a private service professional has as far as actually operating their own little small business.
Sure. I think what we can offer specifically to the private service professionals are a couple of things. Obviously, we can handle payroll for small staffs if that's involved in some of these locations. But I think more importantly, handling many of the reoccurring bills and just having that taken right off of the private service professional's plate. We found that we can save some of these folks 6 to 10 hours a month, an additional time that they can be putting out fires in other areas. And it seems to be pretty effective in taking away some of the stress. And when we say that, we mean once we get the bill once, then that private service professional doesn't see that bill again. They get a month-end report of all of the bills and activity that have been paid. And they get an account manager that's assigned to that account each and every time. So if there is an issue or a concern, or if a bill hasn't been paid on time or so on, then they just call the 800 number and they ask for their account manager, and we fix the problem right away.
So you guys can actually handle any discrepancies or disputes that might come up regarding those pay.
Yeah, we actually deal with that a lot. We deal with haggling credit card interest rates, for example, or overpayments or overcharges. Our company is a little bit different because we pay the bill through an electronic service, so it's actually instant. So it's not like an online banking system where they issue a check and then the check is mailed out to the bill being paid.
Okay.
We issue it instantly, so we can track when paid. So if there's any discrepancies, we can go right back to the second that it was paid, and we can talk about it.
Wow, that definitely sounds like it could definitely alleviate a lot of the stress that the private service professionals go through.
Sure. And our payroll services are very similar. If you're all in as a small business or a small company, you're also assigned an account manager, and we just figure out how often you want to do payroll. We can do direct deposit, we can issue checks, we deal with unions, we deal with non-unions. So that allows us to have the flexibility where we truly become, just for one flat fee, the accounts payable arm for a small company of less than 50 employees.
Okay, fantastic. Can you explain a little bit about some of the important issues that you've seen neglected in your industry as far as the services that you guys provide?
Yeah, sure. Specifically, in the senior market, the second or third biggest reason that a senior, for example, has to go into assisted living is financially related. In other words, they get behind on their bills or their taxes or their mortgage or their electric payment. That might be something as simple as them developing arthritis and they can no longer handwrite checks. So then they're placed into assisted living. So where we come in is we take care of all of that on behalf of the caregiver, which could be the son or daughter or an attorney or an estate manager or whatever that is. So we become involved on the bill paying side to make sure that that doesn't happen. And over the last few years, there's been a pretty major shift in the marketplace in regards to having seniors stay in their homes longer. And there's a couple of reasons for that. First of all, the senior's more comfortable there. It's been their home for 30, 40, 50 years, whatever it is. Second of all, it's much more cost effective to have folks come out to visit the senior in regards to dry cleaning and house cleaning and lawn care, and where we come in, the bill paying services. So the life expectancy is longer there, and it allows for more flexibility for the family as well, where they don't have to just place the senior into an assisted living community and be done with it.
Yeah, and I think that that's extremely important. One of the stories that you and I have talked about in the past is I recently had my grandmother went through that
Mhm.
situation where my mom and dad had to spend a exorbitant amount of time up in northern Wisconsin where she's located, just helping her get back on her feet, and deciding whether or not it was time for her to go into a nursing home where she could have people on staff to take care of her and
You
help.
take care of her.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and so I
Yeah.
think that's extremely important. And even when you think that wouldn't necessarily pertain to you, it's amazing how some of the stuff ends up hitting you right in the face without prior planning. So
Yeah, we deal a lot with um, national home care providers. We're literally on their checklist when they go into the home and consult with the son and daughter or whoever the caregiver is. And we're part of those services that are provided. So if they need it, we're there. And you're right, it depends on the stage of your life. You may not need the fiscal concierge for many years, but then all of a sudden you have a loved one that falls into this category. We also do a lot of work with folks that have physical injuries, car accidents, for example, where they're laid up for 6 months or a year. We also handle their bill paying services there too. So, we're niche, but not as much as you think we are.
when is the right time for, let's say, a principal to reach out and contact your company as far as the planning process? Is there ever a too early of a time to start planning?
No, I mean, if you plan earlier, the transition is just more seamless. If you wait to plan when there are other issues and other things that are kind of swirling about, it's a little bit tougher to get the services implemented. We've seen a lot of instances where one of the spouses has passed away and they were the folks that wrote the checks.
Right.
So the other spouse has no idea what's in the checking or the savings account or what bills need to be paid. And we don't get involved until 6 months later because the lights have been shut off, for example.
Right.
But that's still okay because it's not too late. We haggle with the electric company all the time and the gas company and say, look, this is what happened. We're in charge now and we're going to kind of take over. So the earlier the better, but most of the time it kind of happens once the issue is kind of, hit you in the face.
Okay.
So.
Great. What kind of benefits we're obviously going to have some of the people that are going to be listening to this particular podcast are our actual vendors,
Sure.
similar to your facet as far as what you provide for all of our members. What kind of benefits can you offer to our vendors that might be listening to today's podcast?
Yeah, good question. We deal a lot with small businesses, and I think by definition, a lot of the vendors that are involved with DEMA are small business owners. So first and foremost, we can handle payroll and reoccurring bill payments at a pretty low price and a flat fee. So you're talking about time being saved, so the small business owner can focus on gaining new clients or sales and marketing. Secondly, referrals. A lot of the folks that we deal with are in-home care providers and they need ramp builders and landscapers. and dry cleaning service providers and housekeeping and so on. So the bigger the network from a referral perspective, the better it is for all of us. We do a lot of work with referrals. Bill paying and payroll is very intimate on many levels, almost admitting that you run out of time. So having a warm referral and being able to present and show what we can do has been pretty effective for us. So I think those are probably the two main benefits from a vendor perspective.
Okay. So obviously the next question that you would ask would be to have some of our vendors reach out and do some networking with your company as well, correct?
Sure. The best way to reach us is via email. It's ddrap@thefiscon.com. And I can also give out my cell phone information. It's 847-722-9362. And we'd be glad to talk with anybody and can give a lot of advice on our end as well, as far as from a marketing perspective of how to position yourself with a home care provider, for example.
Well, thanks again, Dave, for taking time to talk with us today here at DEMA Live. Once again, that email address, if you'd like to contact David, is ddrap, D-R-A-P, so it's D-D-R-A-P at the, T-H-E, Fiscon, Fiscon.com. And we look forward to having you back on the show at a later date to discuss some more topics that you might be able to enlighten our members about. And once again, thanks a lot, Dave.
Great. Thanks a lot, Matt, for the time. I really appreciate it.
That'll do it for this week's podcast. Our special thanks to Dave Drap of Fiscal Concierge, and we look forward to next week when we'll have the opportunity to talk with Tom Breedlove of Breedlove and Associates. I'm your host, Matthew Hack, and until next week, remember, people will tell you what you can't do. When they do, turn around and tell them, watch me.